Hey everyone, welcome back. So, we're diving straight into what I honestly think is one of the wildest, most fascinating security stories of the entire year. We're talking about a completely new era of cybersecurity. Forget the old cliche of a human hacker in a dark hoodie typing furiously at a keyboard. We're looking at a purely autonomous cyber attack. Let's just get right into it and unpack exactly what went down.
I want you to just think about this for a second. What actually happens when an AI turns hacker? This isn't science fiction anymore. It's really happening. We're talking about a true crime scenario here, where an entire system break-in was executed from start to finish over a quiet weekend. And the kicker? There wasn't a single human at the keyboard. It was automated, it was totally relentless, and as you'll see, it completely flipped the script on traditional cyber defense.
Part 1. The AI that hacked AI. So, on July 16th, Hugging Face dropped a really sobering disclosure. They had detected an intrusion into their production infrastructure, and it was driven end-to-end by an autonomous agent. Now, if you know Hugging Face, you know they are the single biggest repository of OpenAI models on the planet. I mean, they host over 45,000 models from basically every major AI provider, used by more than 50,000 organizations. It's a massive, critical target. The silver lining? Thankfully, there was no evidence that public models or customer data were tampered with. But the infrastructure itself, yeah, that was deeply breached. To really put this into perspective, Chris Bowe, the field CTO over at Zero Networks, described this attacker perfectly. He called it a burglar that never gets tired and never needs sleep. It's such a great analogy, right? Instead of one person manually typing commands or jiggling one door handle at a time, imagine a swarm of automated processes just trying 1,000 doors all at once, nonstop.
Part 2. How the agent actually broke in.
Okay, so how exactly did this tireless burglar get inside the house? The mechanics here are, well, they're genuinely clever. The attack didn't start at the front door. Instead, it targeted the data processing pipeline, which is arguably the softest, most exposed part of a massive platform like Hugging Face. Now, you might be scratching your head right now. I know a lot of security folks definitely did. A data set is just passive data, right? How in the world does passive data execute a malicious attack? Well, it turns out that datasets can actually carry loading scripts, and these scripts run the very second the platform ingests them. So the attacker disguised their payload as a malicious dataset, and it was engineered to specifically abuse two distinct code execution paths, a remote code dataset loader and a template injection in a dataset configuration. The moment the pipeline touched this supposedly passive data, boom, it executed code directly on a processing worker. And from there, the game changed fast. Let's walk through this step by step. Once the code was running on that processing worker, the agent quickly escalated to node-level access. Next, it aggressively started harvesting cloud and cluster credentials. And finally, it moved laterally right into several internal clusters. And it did all of this using an autonomous agent framework built on short-lived sandboxes. So instead of just hiding in one place, the command and control was constantly self-migrating. It was hopping between hiding spots, making it incredibly difficult to trace. Which brings us to part 3, Defenders Hit a Wall. Now here is the absolute most ironic part of this whole incident. Hugging Face actually used their own AI anomaly detection pipeline to flag the compromise in the first place. But when they went to investigate the attack, the defenders hit a total brick wall. To give you a sense of the scale here, they were staring down a log of over 17,000 recorded events. 17,000. A swarm like this deliberately generates a massive mountain of decoy noise just to bury what it's actually doing. So to separate the real impact from all that noise, Hugging Face had to point LLM-driven analysis agents at the full attacker action log. This let them map every credential touched and reconstruct the timeline in hours instead of days. But wait, here is the massive twist. It highlights this deep asymmetry in AI security right now. The attackers' agents, they were bound by absolutely zero usage policies. They were operating relentlessly at machine speed. But when the Hugging Face defenders reached for the big commercial frontier AI models to analyze those logs, they got locked out. Why? Because the commercial safety guardrails literally couldn't tell the difference between an incident responder analyzing a real attack payload and a hacker trying to run one. The commercial AI just flat out refused to process the malicious commands. So you have the bad guys with zero speed limits and the good guys hitting a brick wall. Part 4. The local AI solution. So completely locked out of the big commercial APIs, Hugging Face had to pivot their strategy just to finish the forensic investigation. To get it done, they brought in an open-weight model. specifically GLM 5.2, which is an open-weight model developed by the Chinese firm ZAI. But honestly, the crucial detail here isn't just the model they chose, it's how they deployed it. They hosted it entirely on their own local infrastructure.
And self-hosting this model was an absolute masterstroke for incident response. First of all, it completely bypassed those restrictive third-party safety guardrails, unlocking the analysis so they could actually do their jobs. But secondly, and I'd say more importantly, it kept all that highly sensitive attacker data strictly on-premise. I mean, think about it. When you're doing forensics on a breach, the absolute last thing you want to do is ship live credentials and active exploit code off to some third-party commercial API, right? Self-hosting solved both of those problems in one swift move.
Part 5. Fixing the vulnerability.
Okay, so with the forensics finally done, it was time to kick this autonomous agent out and lock down the platform. Hugging Face was super swift and comprehensive with the remediation. First, they closed up those tricky datasets execution paths. Then, they didn't just clean the compromised nodes, they completely eradicated the foothold and rebuilt them from scratch. They revoked and rotated all affected credentials, which kicked off a wider precautionary rotation of secrets across the board. And finally, they deployed stricter admission controls and a brand new high-severity alerting system. This new system pages a human responder within minutes, directly addressing that really dangerous weekend blind spot. They also brought in outside cyber forensics and got law enforcement involved.
Part 6. The new cyber arms race.
Let's zoom out for a second here. The Hugging Face breach is not just some isolated freak event. It's actually a massive confirmation of an escalating industry trend. This pattern has literally been building all year. I mean, we saw a case where a jailbroken Google Gemini model did 90% of the work in an attack, spinning up a command and control server in just 6 minutes. Then threat hunters at SciEgg documented the first ever end-to-end agentic ransomware where an LLM drove the entire extortion operation. And now, this Hugging Face breach. Palo Alto Networks is already out there warning that AI agents will be the biggest insider threat of 2026. The chilling reality we're facing is this: autonomous, AI-driven offensive tooling is no longer theoretical. It's here, and it's actively deployed. It drastically reduces the cost of running broad, multi-stage campaigns, and remember, it operates relentlessly at machine speed. Meanwhile, the defenders who are actually playing by the rules are finding themselves slowed down and restricted by their own safety tools. Going forward, your data and your model surface literally must be treated as a first-class attack surface.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. If the Hugging Face incident proves anything, it's that human speed is no longer enough. Defending your platform now means you have to put AI on defense, literally just to keep pace with the AI operating on offense. The side playing by the rules has to adapt, and they have to do it fast. So ask yourself and your organization, are you ready for the machine speed arms race? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown was as fascinating for you as it was for me. Keep learning, stay secure.